I come before you with a disturbing tale of an individual who suffers from Asperger's syndrome. He is currently sitting at the Wapello County Jail here in Ottumwa, Iowa, awaiting requisition from the state of Colorado. Unfortunately, the state of Colorado has had no clue as to what's going on. City and County of Denver don't know anything as to this entire case that's going on out here. The only reason they've modified the court records at this point is to show that, it's because I've contacted them, and I've even gone to the court administration, who, has, and that's why they've updated the court records, because they heard from me that he was in jail, and they looked at the records and showed he was, and that he was picked up on a warrant. Well, it would appear that the warrant is the one that they issued out of the City and County of Denver. Conflict with the whole story and everything they've got. After close examination of pretty much every single document that Denver sent them, the Denver Sheriff's Department sent them, I'm quite convinced, as well as other people, that these documents are fake. That the teletype message is a fake, and that there's a good possibility a lot of these endless messages that were sent from Denver Sheriff's Department are fake as well. One of the many mistakes, one of the many issues with this documentation is, as I said, the teletype message sent from the Denver Sheriff's Department to the Ottumwa Police Department. At the top, under where it gives the, it says Denver Sheriff's Department teletypewriter message. Gives a spot for the message number, which they, interesting enough, they left blank, as if, as if they weren't giving a message number for this. This wasn't a numbered message, wasn't one that they had actually, planned to send. The ORI, interesting enough for what they gave for their ORI, is an ORI for a state of Iowa law enforcement agency. Like I said, Denver Sheriff Department is not in the state of Iowa. So where it says right here IA 0900100, it should say, it should start with CO, to begin with, for Colorado's. Then they give their date. There's several issues with this. I mean, many people who are, anybody who has lived in the City and County of Denver knows that that's what they call it, the City and County of Denver. Who calls it Denver County, Denver, Colorado? If you're going to use that format, it would be Denver County, Colorado. Either way, anybody, who's lived in the state of Colorado, let alone the City and County of Denver, knows that the law enforcement calls it that. Again, looking at this, there are other issues. I mean, less pertinent to really determining whether or not, it's fake or not, but, there's a few other small minor issues. But another big issue, the other big issue that I want to point out about this teletype message, which, like I said, I have it right here, you can see it, it says Denver Sheriff's Department teletypewriter message at the top. Denver says, according to what this says from Denver, it says, we will extradite. Okay. Denver's job in this matter, being that my friend was found in the state of Iowa, Denver's not extraditing anybody from Iowa. They would extradite, theoretically, if they were to use the term extradite, they would be extraditing to Iowa. What it should say is we will requisite. We requisite. One of the problems with this case is it's obvious that the proper people did not file an application for requisition with the governor of Colorado. If you read Iowa Code 820, under Section 23, that defines the application for extradition and discusses the application for requisition that has to be filed with the governor of the demanding state in order to get a demand in writing to start the entire extradition process. Anybody who uses NLETS or the NCIC, law enforcement agencies, they're trained to know that you can't, you shouldn't be just making an arrest because, just because there's a warrant that shows in the NCIC. There is a procedure. You have to verify that. Yes, while these documents, other pieces of paper from the transmission show they verified there was a warrant, they verified the warrant, they got answers from who they believe to be Denver Sheriff's Department. It still brings about the question, who is this person they're really talking to over the NCIC NLETS system? NLETS is the National Law Enforcement Telecommunications System, and it's, like I said, it's the communication, it's the way that law enforcement communicate with each other across the nation. And right here, if you look, this is right here what is the warrant for failure to comply with his probation sentence. One of the main problems we have here is, if you look right here, there is no judge's signature. It lacks the judge's signature, the judge/magistrate's signature. That is required pursuant to Colorado Criminal Procedure Rule 4. They must sign these warrants. If it had been a summons, it would have been okay. But I'm trying to cover up a lot of the information so that, for privacy reasons. But if you look right there, it says warrant, right? Warrant for failure to comply. This is just retarded. Whoever did this wasn't very smart about how they went about it. But of course, it had to be Wapello County. I've spoken with the Iowa Supreme Courthouse, and they pretty much told me while they're concerned, it doesn't surprise them hearing that it's Wapello County. I've spoken to people in Denver, as I've said. I think, the only reason they know he was picked up on the warrant is because I notified them. Eventually went to the state court administration about it, and that's pretty much when they modified the court record to show that he had been arrested. Unfortunately, I said, this is fake. While it looks real and it's, for the most part is, there are several issues with it. And this whole thing, I have no doubt in my mind that this was his father's doing. The night before Ottumwa Police Department began looking for him, him and his father got into a fight over text message. More or less, it started out with him just being nice to his father, asking, how was the Alaskan bear hunting trip? Well, his father retorted, I'm working, are you? And then, my friend decided, okay, well, send me $5,000, and I forget the exact amount off the top of my head, how much he really asked his father to send him, but it was a pretty big amount. So, but, his father responded saying, well, when he told his father to send him that big chunk of money and he'll just lose his number, his father retorted saying, don't talk to me until you come back to Colorado and deal with this probation stuff. At this point, it's to the point where the order of commitment that they issued pursuant to Iowa Code 820, Section 15, is now expired. That was issued on the 17th day of May. And it reads, it is hereby ordered that a warrant be issued committing the defendant to Wapello County Sheriff for a period not exceeding 30 days. From this date to enable the extradition of the defendant to the governor of the state of Iowa pursuant to Iowa Code Chapter 820. They can't even go to, at this point it's obvious they can't even go to the Attorney General to seek the approval for a governor's warrant because of the fact, like I said, Colorado, people in charge of getting the, which at this point I know who they are, I'm just not going to mention it because, I don't want to give anybody ideas and pretty much just be like, okay, these people can go freely do this and that, now they know how to do it, so, what they should do is look into their own laws and find out what went wrong to cause this mistake. At this point, I think it's only fair that they would issue a double jeopardy bar at this point, preventing any more warrants from the state of Colorado. I mean, it doesn't matter who is behind this, who caused it. Who's the one who's writing these teletype messages, and all this other stuff, that's, while clearly it's not someone from the Denver Sheriff's Department communicating with the Tumwa, and it's clearly obvious they're not communicating, Iowa's not communicating with Colorado. I mean, I've talked to people out in Colorado myself, John James, the fugitive warrants woman, she pretty much told me, until they've contacted us, we can't do anything. Well, I tried to call her, a couple weeks ago and got no response, pretty much telling me that, okay, they still have not heard anything that's going on here. And, I've had to file habeas corpus, and, that was part of the problem in the beginning, as to, do I file habeas corpus? These clerks don't even know what this is. The clerks don't even know what habeas corpus is down here in Wapello County. And, so I finally filed the motion for, the petition for writ of habeas corpus, and I filed it with a motion for leave to proceed in form of pauperis, which, pursuant to Iowa's statute laws, I am entitled to that being accepted and approved, because I am indigent. I don't have the money to pay for the filing fees, the $185 they charge for that. Well, I just found out last Tuesday that they charged the filing fees, and almost immediately the judge sent me the reply to the informa pauperis motion, and pretty much said, motion for leave to proceed in informa pauperis is hereby denied. It is so ordered. Judge doesn't just usually say it is so ordered. They give you a reason. The lack of a reason in this case suggests that the judge doesn't know what he denied. He didn't know what it was, so he didn't know what we didn't know what it was, so we didn't know what he was denying. How can a county, how can any county, city, county, state, federal government have, how can they have so many people working in their courthouse that do not know what they are doing? Don't know what they're filing. I mean, the response I got from the clerks on Tuesday was, "We are a filing county. That's all we do is file papers. We're a filing county." Okay, well, apparently you can't even do that right. A friend of mine in Colorado and I were on the phone laughing about that one, because that's obvious, with mistakes like this on Iowa's end. It's no wonder why they can't even proceed to the next level and get the Attorney General involved in order to be able to get the governor's warrant from Governor Terry Branstad. We've got mistakes. Iowa Code 8/2017 says that, upon the expiration date of that 30-day commitment order, that, they are supposed to either order the release of the individual or, order a new order of commitment not exceeding 60 days. Well, he's still, like I said, my friend's still sitting in jail. Habeas corpus case is sitting there because I don't have the money. And I don't really have the means to get all the way up to Des Moines to appeal and fight the informa pauperis decision. This is just a horrible matter where an autistic individual, more specifically his Asperger's syndrome, doesn't know what's going on. He's sitting in jail awaiting something that's just never going to come. And, even if the courts do tell him, even if the courts do say, we're going to reprimand you back to the sheriff's until Denver comes and gets you, Denver's not going to ever come and get him. And, they can try to swear up and down they've got a governor's warrant all they want, all this other stuff. They don't have one. They can't get one. They can't even go to they obviously can't even go to the Attorney General's office to seek the review that they need to get from the Attorney General's office, before the Branstad will even grant the governor's warrant. question that I would have is, would Governor Hickenlooper have even, accepted or approved the application for requisition if the proper people would have taken the application for requisition before Governor John Hickenlooper, the state of Colorado? Would he have approved it? Honestly, with the low priority of the crime, being that it's a felony, but it's the lowest form of a felony. It's the class 4. It was burglary and theft. While my friend maybe shouldn't have done what he did, same time, out here in Iowa, he can get the help he needs. He can get the help he needs. He has the support he needs. Honestly, there's no medical marijuana dispensaries for miles. That's what the whole burglary and theft charge was. Him and another friend of his, decided they were gonna go look for marijuana in the dumpsters outside the dispensaries. Typical thing that a lot of people do in Denver. Even to this day, now that it's legal, they still go out and look in the trash cans behind dispensaries for them throwing away the marijuana. Well, that led to more than they had bargained for. They saw a ladder unchained, and I'm sure you can guess where things went from there. But while they shouldn't have done what they did, and he understands that now that he shouldn't have done what he did, he knows I don't support these tendencies that he has. There's been more recent incidences that I will not disclose the details of, but I have read him the riot act on those, so to speak. I've gotten on his case. I don't support what he does, but I also understand that the legal system is not going to ever provide justice for him. This is one of those cases where sometimes the legal system is just better left out of it, because the legal system will never serve its purpose. Ultimately, they have this joint and several restitution where it's not divided in half or anything. They both got to pay, that they both have to pay into it equally. They both got to, put the effort to pay into the entire amount. There is no separation or splitting of it. What do they expect? The judges expect they were going to knowingly violate their terms and conditions of probation and talk with each other and work together to get this restitution paid off? I don't think that they would, to be honest, yeah, him and the co-defendant did hang out for a while, Of course, I had to keep a close eye on that because, I know what they did, I don't want either of them getting in more trouble because they do something stupid. Well, no one knows what happened to the other co-defendant at this point. The co-defendant kind of just disappeared. He kind of just disappeared off the face of the planet. No one knows what happened to him. No one knows anything, friend of his, who's also a friend of mine, tried to call him and go straight to voicemail. So, we know this person went on this other co-defendant also when, he actually, the co-defendant actually went on the run with no intentions of actually serving his sentence. See, my friend here, difference is he actually tried to have the probation transferred on 2 occasions. He tried to have it transferred to Boulder County, Colorado, and to Iowa. The only reason they didn't transfer probation is because I'm in the picture. They've tried to slander my name from day one. Whatever reason, they don't like me. I don't know what it is with Denver and everybody, why they don't like me, what's the problem with me. I have a clean record, I don't have any legal issues or anything, but for some reason, I'm the enemy. I'm the problem, and I'm the problem in his life. Well, something Denver should know, the haze is lifting. Turns out they've been trying to do the same thing to his mother, to my friend's mother, and she's quickly learning just how many of these people really did not, how many of these people were really, whether they were really there for him. It's just unfortunate, it's sad, that the city and county of Denver would go to such lengths to try to push the very people out of his life that actually know what's going on. They know how to help him. They're trying to help him, and it's like, City and County of Denver, they want him to have a job. His dad wants him to have a job. They think that if he got a job, any job, it would solve all of his problems. All the problems would go away. I mean, it doesn't happen. These jobs, him having his mother was told when they actually diagnosed him with the Asperger syndrome, after she'd already been pronounced crazy by his father, because the father was present when they diagnosed him with attention deficit disorder, which is one of two very common misdiagnoses in the beginning for Asperger syndrome. The other one is ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which was originally my diagnosis. I eventually, later on, they found out that I really had the Asperger syndrome as well. I've been able to it's been treated. I mean, I've been able to have the Asperger syndrome treated, so a lot of the symptoms have not increased in severity. Unfortunately for my friend, his conditions have gotten more severe because he hasn't been able to find anybody to treat it. They can't find anybody. Now we're out here. There are plenty of people that can help him, but they're trying to strip it all away from everything he has worked so hard to obtain. He's finally found a way to be successful, and he's finally found what he's really been after for all these years, and it's all about to be stripped away from him because the City and County of Denver did not want to do what was right. They did not want to transfer the probation, and unfortunately, this is not about my friend. I think many people are quite aware at this point that this is not about him. This is about me. They want to try to prove me wrong. They want to prove that they can do something, that they can do something, and this is after several attempts of me, showing them up, proving them wrong. The most recent incident was a situation where there was a protection order, a domestic violence case brought on by my brother under my name. I was the alleged victim, and of course I wasn't the victim. Nothing had happened that would have warranted the case. I spent almost 6 months fighting with the Denver district attorneys and the Denver city attorney's office to get that overturned. And the day that I was going in to get the protection order, the civil protection order dismissed, my friend needed help at the probation building. I got a lifetime ban from courtesy of Scott Johnson at the Denver County Probation Building. Because I utilized the ultimate loophole of defense in my friend's sake. Scott Johnson comes to the window at the probation building on the 6th floor, mental health unit, for Denver County Probation, and pretty much asked me, "Do you know what this protection order means? Do you know what can happen if it's violated?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I know what it entails. I'm the one I'm the alleged I'm the protected party, come on. Of course I know what it's going to entail. I know what it, I mean, it had to have been served on me, somehow, I ended up getting, had to get a copy of it, right? I mean, I'm the one that allegedly filed for it. It'd be kind of stupid if I didn't have a copy of it, no matter who really filed it. If I didn't know what the protection order meant, I mean, and that's the other thing. Part of the reason I was helped so much with all that is I researched the laws, and that's how I found out what the protection order meant and everything like that. That I quickly learned there was a loophole. There was, all I had to do was tell the police department one thing: I am knowingly allowing the violation of this protection order. They cannot make an arrest. I mean, if it's a one-sided protection order, as long as the protected party says that statement, they would love to arrest the protected party, because okay, you're knowingly allowing this person to violate, okay, well, technically I'm setting them up because look at the rules and stuff. This person, you cannot allow them to violate it. You can't, give them permission to violate it. So I mean, so they'd want to violate the protected party, but despite the fact it says, the protected party cannot give the restrained party permission to violate it, they don't arrest the restrained party because of the potential risk of the protected party having just set this person up. That was, as far as they're concerned, that's the entire purpose of the protected party allowing the violation. So I said I learned that loophole. I ended up getting a lifetime ban from the Denver County Probation Building over that one, which, of course, that situation that morning was the ultimate underlying factor why the judge just dismissed it. She's like, I'm not going to have Denver County Probation or anybody trying to use this protection order against their client or against anybody. It's not worth the time and problems it's going to cause in the long run. And that's, like I said, that's just it. Hickenlooper is not going, would more than likely not accept or approve a application for requisition. So, I mean, while the probation department and everybody can threaten with the governor's warrant and all these other things, I'm kind of convinced either they didn't want to extradite him, they didn't want to requisite him, they didn't care that he was out here, either that or they don't even know how the extradition process works. I don't think they know how to requisite. They've extradited before, but have they requisited? I don't know. I'm convinced that this is either a situation where we've got people working on Denver's side that don't know anything, or people on Iowa's Ottumwa side that don't know what they're doing. I mean, I remember one time where I actually was speaking with dispatch for the Wapello County Sheriffs, and I told them that there's a statutory law on this in the Iowa Code, and they said no, there's not. And I'm like, well, why don't you look at Iowa Code 820? It's right there. The dispatch officer, I could hear him asking one of the other officers to hand him a copy of the Iowa Code pertaining to 820, Chapter 820, and sure enough, he opens it up and he's like, "You're right, it's right here." But I don't see anything wrong with what's going on here. That's the problem. I mean, that's part of the problem. It's like, okay, maybe at that point things looked okay, but when you get to a point where orders of commitment are expiring, habeas corpus cases, habeas corpus cases are coming up, motions for leave to proceed in form of pauperous are being denied for individuals who qualify for them to be approved, and by statutory law, the judge is required to approve them. I mean, you can't really tell me that there's not a problem here. Iowa is one of the states that actually that has a statutory law pertaining to wrongful detention. Now, I mean, the Ottumwa Police Department swears up and down, well, they're protected because they arrested on a valid warrant. Okay, again, goes back to the factor that the NLETS NCIC system does not. Specifically, there is a specific rule that says that they cannot make an arrest right away. They have to do all this, work to confirm, and, while they did their confirmations on their end, they did all the confirmations, and they did that. They did their end. But the people they confirmed with don't have the authority to tell them that they're willing to requisite, And I said they should have said they would requisite, not extradite. Denver's job is not to extradite from Iowa. Their job is to requisite. And I said, it all starts with an application for requisition from the governor of the state that has jurisdiction. Now, like I said, that was never done. I mean, does Denver even know the procedure on how to get this to legitimately happen? Or did they really just not have any intentions of doing it and they just threatened, it was just a blank, it was just a, empty threat to try to scare him into returning to Colorado, which of course did not work. And no matter how much his father and everybody pleaded with him to return, he did not want to return. I look at everything and I'm like, if he really wanted to return to the state of Colorado, he would have signed that waiver. He would have signed the waiver when they brought him into court for arraignment. He would have waived his extradition. They would have already been out here to come get him. At this point, you know, best thing that I could have ever done was tell him not to sign it. And like I said, if he wanted to go back to Colorado, he would have signed it whether I told him not to sign it, or whether I told him to sign it or I told him not to sign it. He would have signed it if he really wanted to go back. It is obvious that he does not want to return to the state of Colorado. He never did want to return to the state of Colorado. And, you know, let's just hope he doesn't get sick and tired